nothing is dropping hardcore, nothing is rising hardcore. What are you doing? Well, you're stacking more of those learning opportunities to just simply prepare yourself for the fun days, the big event days. That's how you will truly win, because now you know what you're doing, right? Rather than just like, oh, I think I'm going to go away from crypto for a while. I'm going to wait till all of a sudden I start seeing green candles, and then I'll come back. You know, you have prepared yourself. You prepared yourself for those times when stuff starts taking off, and so now you are able to take advantage of it and not get wrecked.
God bless those people that will come in at the top of the green candles and buy our bags.
We love you,
Very
exit
true.
liquidity.
Yeah, you need somebody to do it, and unfortunately, there are people that are more than willing to chase green candles and be that exit liquidity. But that's neither here nor there. Tell you what, gentlemen, I think we beat up the one thing pretty good, and we're ready to transition to some of the other topics, such as what are the lies that the author talks about. We already covered multitasking, so I want to start off with the idea that everything is equal value, because I think this is one of the things that I harped on in my synopsis of the one thing. So what do you guys think about this? The premise that the author makes is that when you focus on so many things, you tend to believe that they all matter the same amount. Therefore, if you knock out any single one of them, aka all boxes on the checklist are the same value, so just knock out whatever boxes you can. This means that everything is the same value, but when the author is analyzing things, they don't all produce the same result. So what do you guys think about this idea that everything is the same value? What are the best cases that you can give to prove that not everything is of equal value when it comes to
I'll
things
tell you,
that you can do?
bro. Have you ever tried to like move something really heavy with an apple, and then and you're really hungry, and you tried to eat a crowbar, and you're like, oh man, these aren't the right things for this job. I like them both. I like apples and I like crowbars, but apples and crowbars, they're not equal. Like you can't use them for the same things as each other. They're each like purpose built to do their own thing, right? And this goes for people too. When he was talking about this in the book, that's one of the things that that's my common response whenever someone says that men and women are equal. Is I say apples and crowbars aren't equal, right? There's like, or like when they say that, like uh uh oh man, I'm not gonna go down. I almost took us down. We're on YouTube. I got to be friendly here. Okay, so um, hang on. I got to recatch my train of thought. Apples aren't equal to crowbars. Is the long and short of it, right? Nothing in this world is equal. Like all of us here on the Degen Roundtable, none of us are equal to each other. We're not comparable. We have a lot of similarities, right? And we're all like cool human beings, and perhaps like if you want to take the religious stance that all human beings are equal in the eyes of the creator person, then excellent. That's great. From a moralistic standpoint, sure. But like from a realistic standpoint, good old Donald Trump is not equal to the homeless electrician who lives under the 405 in a tent
It's
somewhere.
true.
You
He's
know,
a far superior man. I will
well,
admit it.
maybe when it comes to being president of the United States, for sure. But when it comes to setting up a tent or perhaps running some wire through conduit, I'm willing to bet that Farmer Jay is probably superior in that realm. Like I'm probably better than my doctor is at Muay Thai, but my doctor is probably a lot better at sewing up my broken organs after I lose a Muay Thai match or something, right? So like
Or
everyone's better at some people than other things, but like people aren't
or when you
people.
buy back those organs you sold at the bottom of the market.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. I gotta buy back my kidney. That's a man. Man, what talk about the best leverage. I don't want to get too far gone down this rabbit hole. But that's what I think of whenever someone says that like, oh, these two things that are like just as a blatant like straw man argument. These two things are equal or whatever. It's like apples aren't equal to crowbars. That's my best thing. We have someone who has joined us here real quick before we hop on. Sam, I would like to welcome you to the One Thing by Gary Keller. This is a book that Sam and I have read extensively, so I'm super stoked to get to hear your thoughts on it. But Sam, we are currently talking about the not so truthful truths in the or not truth, the lies in the book that people are often told, like, when he was talking about the frog in the boiling pot of water, and like, if you work really hard at something, like, then, it's a good thing to do all the time, because working hard for the sake of working hard is always a good choice. Like that's another lie we're told. You need to work hard with purpose is the caveat to that. But anyways, so we were talking about like what were some of the favorite lies in the book, and Zenith had mentioned like the one about equality and things being equal things. So welcome to the stream, brother. How are you doing? What's new and exciting with you, real quick, and then let's launch into some of your thoughts about The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Awesome. Good to be on here. Thanks for having me, guys. So I'd have to say that one of my favorite things about Gary Keller's The One Thing is that one of the lies that came to mind was that that you've got a we do it live, folks.
We do it live. I was like,
Sorry.
man, he sounds like he's from Wisconsin right now. Has he got like a frog in his throat? And then it fixes
Whoopsies.
stuff. I'm sorry.
Good
Continue.
loss.
Oh my god. So anyway, what I was saying was the lie of, and I've mentioned this before on the book club, the lie of the optimal balance in your life. Like you ought to have your balanced day, right? There is no balanced day. There is balance in the extremes. Maybe you go like a week without doing something and then you have like one day, or you go like months without doing something and then you have a vacation, right? The balance exists at the extremes because that's where the extreme productivity lives. That's one of my favorite ones. But otherwise, what's up with me is that I'm just trying to build a wonderful community at my link, www.school.com, skool.b/BFB success. I'll throw a link in the chat at some point, but that's all I'm doing. But it's good to be here on the book club where we can talk about knowledge.
Excellent.
Glad to have you, my man. Yeah, Will said that you guys covered this one pretty extensively in the past, so definitely excited to get your thoughts on it. We already did the synopsis of what what is the one thing and like the main idea of the book. Now we're covering some of those like common lies that the author believes, and the one we're tackling right now is that all of the things that you could possibly do are not of the same value. So I like Will's argument and the idea that like not everyone or everything is the same or could be used the same, therefore they are not the same. But when it comes to things that you can actually take charge of in your own life and go accomplish, which is that if you theoretically are a checklist person, like a lot of military folks are, I can attest to this. It's like you get tasked with a million things in a day, but there's maybe a few that are much, much more important than the other ones. And we would call these, I don't know, mission critical, as in like, does it matter that I actually go chase the drug runners, or does it matter that I go polish the brass so it looks nice for the next inspection? I would argue you should probably do the things that make you mission effective first. And then if you have time later on, then you can focus on the things that will matter later. But right now, we're on patrol, we're chasing the drug runners, let's be mission effective.
That's one of the things that they talked about in the book was the like when it comes to managers, they're like, hey, we need to get this done now. What you want to do is, and you actually want to ask, oh, is this something that immediately needs to get done? No? Okay, cool. I will get it done maybe tomorrow. That's all about the prioritization of kind of what this book talks about, I would say.
I like it. Tell you what, Sam, you already brought this up a little bit, but it's another one of the lies, which is that the idea of a balanced life, which is that if you try to focus too much on balance, you're going to end up with nothing because you're not really trying to progress anything. You're just trying to keep it all from falling apart. You mentioned this earlier, which is that balance is more of balanced extremes, which is that you do a lot of things for most of the time, and then you pull back and focus on some other stuff at the same time. Can you expand on this idea a little bit more? Like, why is just like pure balance not the ideal, as opposed to trying to go for more outsized gains in one area and then doing other stuff less of the time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's all kind of tied to like the no multitasking thing for myself. The idea that you're going to accomplish a whole lot more if you're actually focused on it. For example, if I have some friends in my life and they want to text me all day long, or they want to like play online games with me and like throw or throw a thing back and forth or whatever, I'm going to be able to create a better social experience with them if they have my full attention, and I will also be able to be more efficient with the work that I'm doing if it has my full attention. So the start stopping thing is a huge mistake to make. And so that's like, I would say the biggest function of why you should not try to break things up as much as possible. And I would say that that boils down to like your work day too. Like if I'm going to send a bunch of emails, I should do that instead of doing it for 30 minutes every morning. I should do that for, 2.5 hours on one day. You try to batch things together so that you can make things the most efficient. So your start stop is less broken up. So there was actually something I just read, or not read, I heard from Hormozy about the idea of managing time versus creating time. And the idea that when a creator is creating something, they need to have a big block of time so that they can get through whatever it is they're doing. And managers basically have the idea of we break up in everything like little chunks and have a little meeting, and then we have a little meeting, and we have a little meeting. And so when those things interrupt the creators, you get this massive problem. And so just you have to be willing, if you're the creator type and you're doing that kind of work, having a big block to focus and get a whole bunch of stuff done on this one topic is just going to end up being a great idea. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it did. But I think it's funny that you mentioned Alex Hormozy, because I think he is also one of the people that really picks up on this. Back in $100 million offers, right? Yes, offers. Leads is the next one we're going to cover, but $100 million offers. He talks about the idea of you want to focus the majority of your energy into a single endeavor, because if you try to focus all of your energy into a lot of different endeavors, you can kind of imagine it as the cups, which is that you can either fill up one cup and overflow it, or you can put a little bit into a bunch of different cups. And he's one of the people that argues it is better to overflow that single cup, because the overflow is the analogy for success or profit or just massive just wealth and success and whatever. It is that home run that's not worth 4 points because you hit a grand slam, but it's that weird thing in business where you can hit that home run worth 1,000 points just because we live in the asymmetric world. So should you ignore your health? Obviously, no. We'll cover that in a little bit because the author talks about that as well. But it's the idea that if you focus on the thing that is important, you will get the most reward out of it. AKA, you're going to overflow that cup, and that by not balancing, so to speak, you've directed your efforts to actually yield a return that is worthwhile.
People oftentimes, when it comes to talking about these sort of things, yielding a return, that's not necessarily always just monetary,
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things that, who was it? It was Carnegie, right? Who was talking about don't split up your, put all your eggs into one basket. Don't split them up, right? And from there, it started moving on into mastery, right? And I don't know if that's the direction you want to take it, Z, but, or if you want me to talk about this here.
Do it. Take it away.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, and then it started moving into mastery. And the idea is basically this, right? So you go from one basket, right? You're going for that one thing. And now you are going to study and you're going to work on that one thing. Now, generally, when it comes to the blocking, he was talking about put 4 hours aside for that one thing, right? And the reason for that is because 4 hours a day, basically every single day, for an entire year would get you the 10,000 hours of mastery, which was a different study done by somebody else that I can't remember their name right now. But ultimately, that is the difference between someone who's really good at doing something and will get paid a lot usually, right? And able to do whatever it is that they're a master at, and somebody who just sort of doesn't can get by, right? And it's all about that mastery. So what you want to do is you want to find the one thing that you want to do. And this ties right back into what we were talking about. I would here one day. I'm going to go do this thing one day. And then, daily and the weekly and the monthly and the yearly, and then eventually there. Ultimately, it all kind of ties together into you're working every single day for a good block of about 4 hours on this particular one thing that you would like to do and get to this place eventually. And that one thing with the block of hours practicing and doing all that ultimately is going to get you the skill set and the mastery level that you want to be able to get over here. And when you start looking at this book and kind of lots of different chapters, but they all kind of tie in together to have this lifestyle of every single day. Yeah, you're going to be working towards the mastery of this one thing that you want to do that for the most part should be, or at least you would assume would be very satisfying and purposeful.
Okay, I like it. Anybody else? What you got?
I think what we were talking about, like everything matters equally, right?
We'll try to disprove that everything matters equally.
Yeah. And I think the book kind of goes over it in that chapter that, you know, and it kind of ties into the latter chapter of priority, you know, that achievers always find a way to, you know, make a clear sense of what's more important first, which I guess like it's a bastardization of priority, right? Because now we have priorities, right? But at what level do we place these things that need to get done, right? I'll tie it back to the construction field, right? If I have two things that need to get done that week, like there's a wire pull and I have a concrete pour going on that week, well, I probably want to make sure that I have everything set in place before the concrete. If the concrete pour is being done in the middle of the week, I probably want to prioritize everything that needs to get done before that pour that at the beginning of the week, and I can always pull my wire towards the end of the week. Because once that concrete gets poured, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm screwed. So prioritizing what needs to get done and steps.
I like it. That makes sense. So I'll try to tackle the other half of this question, which is if the truth is that everything does not matter equally, why has the lie that things do matter equally been promoted? And I think one of the things that the author talks about on this is it's not explicitly called out, but it's one of the modern ideas that if you look busy, people will think you're busy, and it's chasing productivity for the sake of productivity. It's not actually trying to get results or progress, but it's the idea that you are some sort of middle cog in a very large machine. Therefore, as long as you do the bare minimum and try to appease the higher ups and look busy, you will be rewarded for such. It's possible. It's focusing on the wrong things. This kind of goes back to the Toyota concept that Will mentioned previously. It's the invention of Six Sigma, or developing systems that actually do things. It's that if you try to measure something, people will care about it. So if your boss starts measuring what time you show up to work, they start measuring the amount of hours you work and what time you show up, as opposed to what you actually do at work. So it's the difference between measuring something that you care about versus don't care about. And if you start measuring things that you don't care about, then you're just going to be measuring a bunch of things or making sure that you hit all the boxes on the checklist. So this book, in my opinion, really tries to reframe the question and put it back on the idea of actually accomplishing things rather than just filling a role for the sake of filling that role. What do you guys think about that? Am I on the mark here, or am I missing it?
No, I think it's important to only measure the things that are important, because like you start to get into the low leverage, low efficiency system. And there's probably something to be said for like gauging whether something's important to you, whether something's important to your tribe, whether something's important to your boss, whether something's important to your, you know, the future, you know, 1,000 years of humanity or something like that. So where was I going with this? It's like some things might not be the one thing for you right now, but it might be the one thing that you need to focus on in eventuality. You know, like if my one thing does not include throwing trash in the trash can, and I'm like, oh man, I'm going to waste so much time by throwing all this trash in the trash can, I'm just going to put it on the ground because, you know, me getting to my job is more important. Then it's like I'm kind of fucking over the next, like, I don't know, 100 years of people who are going to be living in that area, and they're going to see trash all over the place. It's a bad example, but like, you know, change out the specifics of the example and focus on like the concept of the idea, right? Like, you might not always be the subject that the important things need to be done for, right? Like Zenith was talking about earlier, like the military. Like, my one thing while I was in the military wasn't necessarily always the mission. that was at hand. Sometimes I was more focused on things that weren't the mission. Sometimes I was focused on things that were the mission, whatever that may be. And if I'm focused on shit that's not the mission, then it's up to my superiors to get me like back on track and be like, hey Stevenson, fucking pull your head out of your ass, or whatever the hell, you know. And it's like, oh shit, Sergeant, you're right, or fucking you got it, sir, or whatever the hell, right? But anyways, all that to say that, like, sometimes you have to look past yourself and you have to see the larger scope, or walk in someone else's shoes, and, you know, move the one thing, like goal chasing, in those sort of directions and stuff. So little deviation there.
It makes sense. So, tell you what, we'll do a bit of a transition here. We've been trying to tackle the lies. One of the lies was the idea of the balanced life. And the conclusion that the author has led us to is that it's good to focus on things like disproportionately for a large amount of time. But then there's also seems to be a contradictory argument made in the book, which is that if you try to ignore certain things in your life is going to suffer, specifically like health, family, friends, that kind of things. So if you're chasing productivity but ignoring your health and your family and your relationships, that you're going to have a bad time, so to speak. I got a quote for this one real quick, which is the idea of juggling and the durability of each of the things that you are juggling. So it is, imagine life is a game in which you're juggling 5 balls. The balls are called work, family, health, friends, and integrity. And you're keeping all of them in the air. But one day, you finally come to understand that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. The other 4 balls, family, health, friends, and integrity, are made of glass. If you drop any one of these, they will be irrevocably scuffed, nicked, and perhaps even shattered. So, we just covered the idea that you should work very hard on very specific things. But now the author is also saying that there is a balance, so to speak, about other things, and that not everything, again, is equal. And in this case, he's saying work. What do you guys think? How does this make sense? How do we square the circle, so to speak?
I mean, to me, I'll bring, like you said, work. To me, at work, for most corporation stuff, you're just a number, and you can easily be replaced. In my trade, there's an old saying, you know, if you die today, there will be a call at the hall for your position tomorrow, because it's going to get done. So you have to prioritize what are the things important in life, right? Like you said, your family, right? Like if you break some of those relationships, sometimes they're not repairable. But work, you can always go find a new job. So it's important that you do work and that you contribute to society, but understand what you are there. You are not their priority. You shouldn't be theirs.
It kind of sounds to me like like I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing here, but I know that in the book he started talking about the one thing, but in specific realms, right? You know, like relationships and health, and then also into productivity. And so I think that's what he's talking about with the balls here, basically, is like specifically the one thing in all of these areas. Definitely. You just don't want to mess up the one thing with like relationships and stuff. Don't fuck that up.
I think you might be asking the wrong question, guys. I mean, you ought to look at it this way. You could worry all about how you're juggling these balls, or you could spend a bunch of time figuring out how to make your floor made out of rubber.
Ooh.
Okay. How do we? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. If you figure out a way to make lots and lots of money, you could probably solve a lot of people's problems and repair relationships if you drop them.
Isn't this like the Uncle Scrooge thing? Or yeah.
Yeah, but you can't repair your health once it's screwed. Once it's gone. I mean,
That's pretty fair. Yeah.
if you got terminal cancer, you know, and you got stage 4 cancer, and you could have solved it when you were at stage 1. Stage 4 is probably not looking too well for you.
For sure. I think, Nate, you mentioned the Christmas Story, right? Yeah. So
DuckTales.
Yeah, the DuckTales. this is the chapter where this story gets incorporated, which is the general synopsis of A Christmas Tale, aka Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and then is shown what he looks like he's been doing, is currently doing, and will do in the future, and then realizes that, oh shoot, I've been prioritizing purely money and forsaking everything else. So the next morning on Christmas Day, he wakes up and gives his employee the day off, sends him his family a turkey, goes and sees his uncle and apologizes, and then starts spending more time with his family. It is, I know that I'm gonna give Sam a little pushback on this one. It's the idea that, like, sure, you could try to make the floor out of rubber by just making more money, therefore everything is solved with money. But the author really does harp on the idea that you can only miss your child's 5th birthday once, and that you can only like save the marriage once before they file for divorce, and now you're just trying to save the second marriage that you eventually find yourself in. It's that, like, this part of the book specifically starts to transition away from being productive and useful at focusing on your mission and moving towards how to make your life and your life have that one thing or that one mission, aka this is where he starts talking about purpose. So when it comes to this concept, it's trying to balance the author trying to spend the first half of the book, arguably 2/3 of the book, telling you to focus on the one thing that is going to give you the most reward, aka the most bang for your buck, how to be the best you can possibly be. And then he takes a step back and he's like, all right, just so you know, you have to focus on the one thing to be super productive. But if there are other things that they are that one thing in a different sense, because they're more of a risk, the one thing, which is that the possibility is low, but the repercussions are massive, which means that if you lose these things, then all the progress you made in the other realms are going to kind of be tarnished a little bit. So you might be measuring success in a professional sense, like career-wise, but when you factor that into the life sector as well, your life as a whole might be diminished. I don't know, Sam, am I making sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was searching more for a way to maybe add some entertainment to the conversation than a
Hey, that's fair.
legitimate thought process.
I got some entertainment for you.
I got just
Hey.
a quick comment.
Oh, go
Just a
ahead,
quick
Jay.
Comment on what Cena said, right? That you can only miss your child's birthday, 5th birthday one time, right? The greatest thing about kids is watching them grow up, and the worst thing about kids is watching them grow up. So
I'm learning
I
that
know-
hardcore.
I know Nate. I know Nate had his kids running around earlier. You're gonna miss that one day, brother. You truly are.
Nah, no
You
way.
are absolutely. When they're not there running around anymore, like it's like I said, the best and the worst thing about children is watching them grow up.
I
I was
already
gonna
missed the crawling stage. Just saying.
back when they couldn't break the things. I was gonna
Exactly.
say,
We'll get that.
You guys can always just go and have more kids. You can always just go and have more relationships. You can always
Don't
go and just
encourage her.
meet more
Don't.
people.
Stop.
Make more family members. Go find more friends. If people
can
are
be like
boring and you
Sam
miss
and
their
leave-
birthdays
Be
because
like
you're
Sam and leave baby mothers scattered across America.
if you go and make more kids, like if you miss your kid's 5th birthday, then just make another kid. You'll have another chance. You can just spread them all out all over the place. It'll be beautiful. It'll be wonderful.
Sounds expensive, but if you
Ladies
got
and
Exactly.
gentlemen, I would say please don't take Will's advice on this one.
Yeah,
And-
we might
and
chalk
on
this
robbing
one up
banks.
with the.
And
yeah,
on
I was gonna say
robbing
it goes right there next to robbing banks.
Go have children. Go make more life in this world. Go
and
make the world a
support
better
them
place.
by robbing as many banks as possible.
Oh man.
I
love
those
it.
Concepts are going hand in hand, I guess.
Z, bring us back in, dude. I've cast a far line. I need you to reel this sucker back in so that way we can get
You
somewhere
might
again.
have, and I think the only possibility might be a hard transition. But I will
Ooh!
open this up. Do we have no? Not that
Oh.
we don't. I don't think we actually have
Okay.
any. Do we have anything? We only have one thing starred.
I'm ready.
I know you are. Tell you what, I'll give Mrs. Producer a quick second to star maybe one or two more things if you think there are anything of value. Other than that, we do have one person to shout out momentarily. But before we close the chapter on the contradiction of focusing on the one thing and then going to life balance, Any final thoughts? The floor is open.
I just want to say I thought it was interesting how the book literally, like, there's two halves of the book. It's production, and then it's like lifestyle. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of started losing it right around lifestyle because I was like, oh, they're telling me how to live again. Okay, sure. I was more interested in the production side because I'm not gonna lie, I needed it. I needed it. That's why I'm gonna be applying some of that stuff in my life.
It would be good if there was a subtitle for the book. There was like the one thing, and then underneath that it said "Do It or Else" by Gary Keller. I think that would really drive it home. I think we've beat this one up, Z. Let's transition on away, my friend.
Yep, you know what time it is. Pull it up.
I know what time it is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels. It's time for motherfucking chat shout-outs. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. There's the light. Oh, there we go.
You're good. That's right.
Hey, there
folks.
it
We've
is.
Not forgot about you.
Hey, there's
at all, and we've forgotten about the good people at home. So we're going to start off with someone checking in and saying, what's up? He's a little bit late today, I got to say. But at the same time, we're very happy he's here. We have Centurion 54X, a.k.a. 54 Cent. Saying,
I would
"What's up,
say,
Degens?" Good to see you,
I would
sir."
say Mr. Centurion is right on time because he knows what's good, and that's fucking Degen Roundtable Book Club, baby. Glad to have you, Mr. Centurion. I believe that as I read the chats earlier, you had said that you were shoveling hay, so I'm fucking glad to hear it. Man, he's over there getting strong and feeding cows and shit. I love it. We're sitting here talking about our feelings on the internet. He's out there making the world a better place. Good for you, broski.
Delicious cows.
Who else knows how to manage 300 acres here, you guys?
Yeah, for real. Good shit,
Might be that
broski.
man right there. Yeah,
Good shit.
Centurion putting in an honest day's work as to being some sort of streamer on the internet. Ugh.
Yep.
Alrighty, up next we have the Harmonic Hexagon checking in with a good quote here. I like this one. Action promotes alignment, and alignment supports inspiration. We can twirl the beard over this one and think about it.
Okay. No say.
Either way, I think it's a good one. Definitely catches the spirit of the message on this one. And last but not least, we have our honest worker coming in with an honest comment saying, Zenith, talking about balls again.
This is the juggling one, right?
Yes, it was.
It's a
on me.
daily thing. That's his one thing that he needs to do on a daily basis.
I told him,
Juggling.
old habits die hard. They do.
Juggling.
Can't help it.
For those of you who are never in the military, you should go join the military, and then you'll understand. Or actually don't, because it'll be a horrible time. Or do it
Well,
if you want to have a horrible time.
All I'm saying
I
There's
is
would
also
that
die
experience.
immediately, so I'm
It
not going to
happens.
join the military. I would not.
there's
survive.
that, but there's also these very beautiful moments where you're in the cattle shower, aka the open room with 12 shower heads, and it's just you and the boys singing "Ain't No Mountain High" while you're all just naked. But
Yep.
whatever.
Oh, it sounds like prison, bro. Same thing.
It's pretty
Yep.
much the same thing.
The pay's better, I will say that. But the food's
I
the
wouldn't
same.
know though. I've never
Food
been.
is the
I
same.
just saw
No.
it on YouTube. I saw a YouTube video on it.
I've got
never been.
some secret sauce for you guys, and then we'll get back to the show. But I will tell you
Let's hear
this: prisons and oftentimes military are served by the same food service company, Sodexo. Very often. There was a time where I was up in Bridgeport, California, and we were doing mountain warfare training, and I was in the finest chow hall that I had ever been in my entire career. And I was walking out of the chow hall, and I happened to catch sight of the Marines unloading the box truck with all the food that they were delivering. And on the side of one of the boxes, it was full of frozen meat. It said "frozen meat for prison and military use only," and that's what the box had written on it in big black letters. And I was like,
Right.
"Ah,
'Cause
that's
you guys
interesting."
are familiar with the term for Zenith and Will Wright commissary, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the jail system, that is what their store is called, commissary.
Yep.
So
Yes, it
it's- Like
is.
you said, it's served by the same industry, which is kind of messed up, right?
Man,
the food-
Farmer J
the-
knows a lot about all this.
I've read a lot of books.
Yeah, I mean, to Will's
Excellent.
point, it's either Sodexo or it's Aramark. Those are the two options you have for food contracts. Outside of that, there is no one else. It's that.
Yep. There is no
That's,
second best.
That's deplorable. Hey, go out and
And-
fight for our country. Hey, get locked up in prison. Same food for all y'all. It's just the same thing. Who cares?
I mean,
Just
if it
remember,
makes the
like-
body go forward, it makes the body go forward. What you got, Z?
I was gonna say, just remember, all government contracts is fulfilled by the lowest bidder.
Oh
There you
man,
go.
yeah. Think about that
No.
next time you hear someone talk about like military grade equipment. What that basically means is that Barney can't break it, and also it's crazy cheap. So like you can drop it as much as you want, and that's about it.
I'll just put it this way: the government contracted pens that are made, the pens, your writing utensil, is made by a blind person.
Yep.
Really?
Hey, these blind people need jobs too, right? So why not making pens?
Look,
It's better than truck drivers.
Everyone that knows, they know the Skillcraft black and blue pens. Then there's like two variants. You can either get the pen casing that is shiny or is like matte. There's no difference. Probably because the blind people can't tell, but that's neither here nor there.
Shout out to all the blind folks catching us on the replay because they can't see us live because they're blind.
Yeah, what up, Skillcraft?
It's all right. At least they're working and contributing in some form or fashion, unlike some
Yeah.
people I know.
That's true.
Good
Look,
shit.
we're
love you
making
all.
jokes out of it. Like they're performing a very valuable service. They are part of the American military industrial complex, moving it forward, making sure that democracy is spread all across the world. But at the same time, like the economy, somebody's got to make the pens, and I'm
Just-
glad that we're
just-
finding good employment.
Just like somebody's got to make license plates, like the prisoners in the state prison system.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Farmer J knows a lot about these prison stuff, man.
Oh
Read the
man,
book.
Bro.
Never been.
All
though,
right.
Never been.
reel
Tell
us
you what,
back
before
in,
we-
bro.
I will. Before we
had
start asking too many questions, sorry, Mrs. McGettit, what you got?
I had a question. I don't know if you're going to get to this part, but it's something that stood out to me in the book, so I want to know if we could bring it possibly in here, at least for a little while. The
Please
concept,
do.
though, at one point, one of the stories that he was talking about was they gave everybody a task, and then they had to complete, and it was told them, it's the utmost importance. You absolutely have to do this. And for the two different control groups, one of them they gave a deadline. You have to show up by this time. The other one they did not. And I don't remember exactly what the task was, but it was that they needed to like help somebody or
It
learn how to
was-
help somebody.
It was priests in seminary, and they were going to give a sermon on helping the poor and like helping.
Samaritan work.
Yeah,
right?
It
yeah.
was the
It was
Good
helping the
Samaritan
poor, and like helping people that are like downtrodden. And they're like, you have to give this seminary. Oh, and by the way, you're almost late, so go. And
Yes,
then
get there immediately.
Yeah, there was.
then they
there was
planted a
late, and
person.
then there was another group where they were given plenty of time, and they found.
Okay,
that
yes.
it was,
Okay, this is the story. You guys got it then.
Yeah.
I just want to know, can we cover that one, talk about that a little bit? I think that was almost contradictory to a lot of the points he kind of tries to really drive home of that like ultra focus on your one thing. And
Yeah, a little bit.
I found that one to be really interesting, and I kind of wanted to, just touch on it a little.
Okay, so real quick as a synopsis, the study was that there's the seminaries who are literally going to give a speech on helping the poor, and they planted people as poor people to bother these people on the way to making their speech, asking for help. They gave some folks a lot of time before their speech and told them like, hey, you should go head out now. You got plenty of time. Go take it easy. And then other people were like, hey, you maybe got like 5 minutes to get to this place to go give the speech. And they found that the people that were in a rush were much, much less likely to assist the person asking for help, being like, a beggar effectively, even though they're literally on their way to go give a speech to people about helping the beggars. And this is one of those things where if I'm getting what you're saying correctly, is that this is one of the examples where you can very easily lose sight of the big picture if you're being rushed in the moment or you're focusing on other things. AKA, if you're focused more on showing up on time to your speech, you are more focused on showing up on time to the speech than actually doing what the speech is about, aka helping the people that are asking for help. Am I right?
I got a. This reminded me of Richard Hart, bro, when he was talking about you need to speak to people at scale. Don't have one-on-one conversations. You need to talk to as many people as possible to have as big of an impact as possible. And I was
That's
just
right.
like, I was kind of chuckling to myself just now when we were talking about this, and I was like, oh, that's kind of like the Richard Hardism. It's like, should I stop and have one life-changing conversation with one guy, or should I broadcast it on YouTube, or like talk to a large audience and give them all the life-changing advice and life-changing information? Like, speak at scale when you can. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But back to this topic of conversation, Mrs. McGettit, I did also think that it was a little bit like, so if we were to judge whether these seminaries are doing the one thing, whether they're focused and honed on their one task, or if we're to judge whether they like take the seriousness of the task like and its implication into the rest of the world, like like one being more valuable or the other. I did find that it was also like, oh, this is interesting. Like, these seminaries are focused on their one thing, which is like, hey, go give a speech, and they're not getting distracted by like, the people on the like 90% of the people that were time poor in this scenario where it was like, oh, you're going to be late or something.
Yeah, I think he said none of
90%
them
of them.
stopped, and one of them like even stepped over somebody who was trying to
Yep.
get help.
Yep. It was either no one stopped, or it was like a super high percentage of all of them just kept going. And then like it was a much more um much larger percentage. I couldn't think of the word there. Much larger percentage of the folks that like they were not late, that they had ample time, that they would stop and see what was going on and be kind hearted and things. So it's kind of like like when time is of the essence and it's like, I have a thing that I need to do, we focus on the thing more so than we focus on like the implications of the talk at hand. So it was a very interesting experiment.
Yeah,
And
I think
Yeah,
it
the
really
thing.
tied back into like priority. Like I think people's
Yeah, that's
priority was to get to there, and like that's all they saw instead of actually seeing a human being that was laying on the floor. Which I
Yeah.
mean,
and the
it's
reason
kind of messed up, but I think that's just human nature.
Yeah.
the reason I wanted to bring it up is because it feels almost a little oxymoronic compared to the rest of the what he's really emphasizing in the book. He gives the example of the lady in like the office work that who everybody would always go to her because they needed help, and she was constantly getting interrupted and just always busy, busy, busy because people just kept interrupting her flow and asking her for this or that, and she would do the things, and she was fantastic at all this stuff. But she eventually basically changed it around in with what he suggests, blocked out a time for her to go into a different room, like a whole separate room. And during that time, when she was in that room, it was understood: do not interrupt her, do not bother her. Whatever you need, it can wait. Let her focus, and her productivity shot through the roof. So this story reminds me a little bit of that because their one thing was to get to this seminar, to do what they were, accomplish their goals. But through that very narrow-minded focus on that one thing, that boxing yourself off into the room and telling everybody, hey, I'm not available during this time, ended up being detrimental because they left somebody to suffer because they didn't have that focus on that person. They had their focus elsewhere, and that was their only thing. So I guess one of the main points that I'm seeing kind of with that story is maybe the main point he was trying to make is the one thing needs to be a little bit more like focused on the actual mission of your goals, because their goal is to help people, but their goal was not to help people in this particular instance. It was to get to where they needed to be.
Yeah, I think the one thing covered is more like a self-serving thing, right? Like what's good for you personally. Like it's unfortunate that person was out there like on the streets, but like it's more about like what's beneficial to you at the end of the day, right? Because that's kind of what it speaks about, more oriented where your goals are and where you want to go personally in life, more than helping others. I mean, we can take the time to help others, but I don't think that's what the book prioritizes, right? It's more about what you need to get done for your individual goals in life. And I mean, I live in LA, right? So I see a lot of people begging all the time, right? And I know a lot of them are scammers, some of them are down hard. So like, where do I differentiate? Like, do I take the time to care, or should I focus on improving my life? And if I get to that point, maybe I can be more helpful to people instead of if I try to help people on the front end. Am I gonna be able to help as many people as if I become successful? Will I be able to help more people on the back end?
Yep. And then also like Farmer J, because you're in LA, there's been a dilution of the valuable thing. So like, let's say that like when you're in a hometown and there's one homeless person and everybody knows who he is and like everyone understands his story, like whether he's, you know, mentally unstable or if he's got an addiction problem or if he's just some random asshole like on the side of the road, right? People understand, people see it. Like it's when it's a small percentage, when it's a small number of like this kind of ties into crypto a little bit too. Like the more scarce something is, the more valuable it is. If there's a ton of homeless people all over the place, we don't care about it. Just like as if we have a car that has, you know, 2 Taco Bell tacos inside of it, and there we've only got 2 Taco Bell tacos inside of our truck, and we're like driving, we're gonna be like, man, I really like each of these Taco Bell tacos, and I'm gonna eat them and I'm gonna enjoy them. But like when you've got a fucking box truck and it's filled to the brim with 10,000 tacos in the back, it's like, oh, I could give a shit if 7 of these fall on the ground, or you know, if like as I'm like hauling them out of the truck and I'm scooping them into the delivery place wherever we're delivering our tacos at, right? Like we don't care about the individual one. Same thing with like the unfortunate truth is that like the more common things get, the less we care about them individually, and the more we see them as like statistics and numbers. You know,
Yeah,
if one person dies, it's a tragedy. If 1 million people die, it's a statistic. It's like this whole principle like can expound to just about anything, right? And so that's what I was thinking about, Farmer J. Like I know that this is a problem that LA has. There's just more and more and more homeless people, and you don't have the time to go and figure out all their stories and figure out which ones are liars and which ones are legit, which ones you can actually help and which ones like are outside of your realm of ability to change their life process and everything. So like I totally get it, man.
And like you said, a small town, unfortunately, a lot of these people that are on the streets, they live in communities that are full of transplants from all over the country. So there's no tie to the community. It's like you said, and then people want to prioritize themselves, which is fine. We all should, right? We all should have ourselves as a priority. And if we prioritize ourselves and better ourselves, we can become a better tool to help the community we live in. But if we don't focus on ourselves first, we're completely useless to the community.
100%.
I think you hit on something there, Farmer, where kind of going back to what Cassie was saying is it almost seems like the book itself, it talks about how there's like different realms in the one thing, right? There's like productivity, there's morals, you know, it's that one thing that you sort of hold to, right? And instead of spreading yourself all over the place, there's only a couple of things that are priorities in your life, and they're all different realms. And then you have one thing in those different realms that are going to allow you to be able to live a really good life. This kind of translates into almost what I think that whole test kind of was looking at, was like, what's more important to these people? Is it the productivity of going and talking about how to help homeless people, or is it the moral thing of trying to help the homeless people who are literally in their way, right? And so which one takes priorities? And I think the experiment was basically just taking if you take time away from a human being, obviously that becomes more valuable. And so therefore the normal thing for a person would have been, most likely, right, would have been the moral, you know, the one thing in that moral is the people with plenty of time goes and helps these people every single time, versus when you don't have any time, you got to get this speech done. The productivity then goes up above the morality. And so therefore you run over the homeless fuckers, right? So that's what I think was kind of going there. And that actually raises the question of like of how do you prioritize then? Like what is it about these different realms? And then when do you switch from like the one thing in, say, morality to the one thing of productivity, right?
That's an excellent question. I would argue, I think the one thing from the productivity standpoint stops being the one thing when, if you've been ignoring and sacrificing an extra part of your life, if that has the ability to overtake the one thing you're talking about, which is this is my, I know it's not a Richard Hart-ism, but this was my favorite quote of the book, which is that you can't go through life with a clenched fist, a clenched jaw, and a clenched butthole.
Unless you're in prison, then you definitely want to clench butthole.
Unless that, then definitely that. But the point was,
So
this
I've
is
heard.
when the
So
author,
I've heard. So I've heard. I wouldn't know.
again, a lot of prison stories here. So many prison stories.
They're books, bro. Books are beautiful.
Yeah, but the point that the author was trying to make was there's a story when he's talking about he focused super hard on his life and was super stressed and was just sacrificing everything else, but then realized that he was giving up on so much else of his life that it was an active detriment to his life as a whole. Sure, his career might have been progressed, but because he was so focused in forcing not just the one thing, but everything in that regard, that it was an active detriment. And the guy was getting he was literally getting sick. His relationships were being sabotaged. His friends and family were just like foreigners to him. And then it was only when the author stepped back and tried focusing on the one thing, not as a result of just pure progression, but as focusing on the one thing, it also eliminates it separates the chaff from the wheat. It means that you're focused on the important stuff and because you're focused on the important stuff, you're getting more bang for your buck, which means that your time is better spent. So theoretically, you're accomplishing your goals for less time, or you're getting more for the same amount of time, which means that you can use the rest of that time to focus on the other things to make sure that they are not an active detriment to you, which is that you can work out, you can talk to your parents on the phone, you can spend time with your wife and kids, and you can also accomplish your mission. So it is that this is how you square that circle, which is that focus on the one thing for sure. But at the same time, don't try to do everything, because if you do everything, you're only going to do that and nothing else. But if you focus on the one thing, you're going to accomplish your goals in the shortest amount of time possible, which leaves you time to do the preventative maintenance, the PME. That's the part that will help not ruin the thing that you spent all your effort working on.
I would like to insert a thought here that this is contingent on your goal. If your
Agreed.
goal is to maximize your total potential for being successful in a certain way, if I'm going to start a business and I want to get to $100 million revenue, you probably have to focus on that one business. If your goal instead is to not get to that point, maybe you would rather run 3 $10 million businesses, because the priorities you have in life are okay, well, I could do this thing, but I also this other business, the owner, I have a close relationship with him, and this has been around a long time, and I love the community that exists because of it. And so therefore I am going to take over this thing because he wants to be done. But obviously you have to limit your time in it. So it just depends on what your goals are. So I would like to add that you don't necessarily have to forego all else. It just depends on what your goal is.
Very
Sam,
well
I
said,
think you
Sam.
pass what you got.
Just really quick, I just wanted to kind of wrap up my, the point that I brought up there.
Please do.
I guess ultimately what this story kind of said to me, and I don't know if you guys agree, but I would like to hear your opinions if you do or don't. So in this particular experiment that they did with these people, the focus was shifted to where I mean, they got so narrow-minded with what they were trying to do that their one thing became something that it really was not meant to be. Their one thing should have been helping people, helping the poor people. That's everything that they wanted to go talk about. That's everything that they were trying to do. And instead it became, it switched into, because of the time constraint, it switched into getting to where they needed to be rather than actually helping those people now. So I guess in the end, the conclusion would be, it's a very good example of how this can be kind of misconstrued and turned into something else a little bit if you're not truly focused on the one thing, like the author keeps harping on that you should be. Agree, disagree, everybody?
I'll say this much. As far as the story in the book goes, it seems does it absolutely on the face seem like it makes sense? Yes. But if you dive into it, the question that the story is asking is that it gives you the character, which is the seminary, who's going to give the talk about helping the poor. The message is that you are trying to help the poor. But in doing so, they are individually ignoring one person that needs their help. So I know Will was kind of saying this a little bit tongue-in-cheek earlier, which is that the Richard Hart approach is ignore the poor person, go talk to like 100x more people. But it's kind of the question that as the seminary, is your goal to learn about helping the poor and promote the message, or is your goal to actually help the poor individually? And one train of thought says that as the seminary, you're trying to help promote the message. You have a mission right now, which is to go give the speech to help people, even though the subject of that speech is the thing that you're actively ignoring. So the beauty in this little scenario is that it presents hypocrisy as a way to promote how if you are pressed for time, you can ignore the thing you care about. So in this case, we're specifically talking about how allegedly the seminary cares, they care about helping the poor, but what they really care about is doing their job, which is giving the speech, even though the subject of the speech is the thing they're trying to ignore. It's a weird catch-22, but at the same time, it does, on the surface, it absolutely makes sense. Even though, I mean, this might sound very ironic, but in this hypothetical scenario, the correct answer might be ignore the guy, go give the speech.
Okay, so how about this then for a question? Okay, so is information better relayed when you live and believe the information you're giving versus something that you're just trying to do a presentation on, aka your job?
Go for it, Will.
I'm going to go objective here, and I'm going to say that both scenarios are the correct scenario. Both scenarios are the right answer. You know, if you were to stop and help the person, that's the correct thing to do. If you were to go and ignore the person and go give the speech, that's also the correct thing to do. It depends on like where your perspective lies and what your goal is. So each person is going to judge this scenario a little bit differently than the last person. And so I would say that like there's a good argument to be made for both of them. And it just depends on what side of the fence you want to fall on, or that you naturally fall on, or that you know, I might be in a good mood right now and I'll be like, you know, good for him for going and getting his speech accomplished. And then when the other guys stop and they help the person, I'm like, good for him for, you know, it just depends on how you want to look at the result of the action. Because the judgment part is after the fact. At the end of the day, all that's happening is a sequence of events. And we can determine, hey, this sequence of events had a good outcome. This sequence of events had a bad outcome. You know, kind of, I mean, not really like the Chinese farmer son breaking leg story. But, you know, of a similar essence anyways. I would say that an argument can be made for either, and it just depends on how you want to look at it. So I'm going to say that everybody wins because everyone's a winner. So
I think I
would
right.
have to kind of agree with Will, right? Like,
Yeah,
whatever you do is the good thing, but my only problem with it is what's more beneficial in the long term. Like, if you help one person today instead of doing what you were supposed to, would you have been able to help more people in the long run had you done that other thing? And like you say, it's kind of still a win-win, right? But like, what's more beneficial long term? And I think that's kind of the book gets to. What's the one thing we can focus on right now that gets the most benefit in the future?
Yep. And here's here's where the power of now comes into play, because where it's like when the person is walking down the street and they're living in the now and they're thinking to themselves, I have to get to this place because I'm doing this thing. Oh, there's an obstacle in my way. I got to avoid the obstacle, much like a video game, like a Frogger, you know, boing, jumps over it, right? And keeps on going to the finish line. Or it could be like, oh, this is an important thing. I'm in the now. I need to focus on it, right? The new problem has appeared. Time to solve this new problem, right? It could be either, but like living in the now and seeing the homeless person, or living in the now, in the power of now, and being like, I need to give this speech because that's the most important now thing. Like this is a fun little game. And shout out to, I don't even know if this story is fucking real, but shout out to him for having like a really sticky example in his book, because this obviously like hit a chord with all of us here. So here we are discussing it, giving it more
this was
energy.
Designed to be paradoxical, to make you think and chew things over. I'm not saying there's a correct answer on it. It's just supposed to make you think. Because if
I have
you really
a correct
wanted,
answer.
go for it. What is the correct answer? Please enlighten us.
All right, so here's what you do. There are two synopses or scenarios, solutions, whatever the word is. I'm sorry, something that starts with an S that I think would work great. First, if you have the strength and you have the ability, you take this homeless person, you yeet him over your shoulder, and you bring him with you. Now they get to hear this meeting too, and hopefully that will help them. Just bring them right on with. The other, stop, help this
My
person.
shoulder hurts.
We'll get a shopping cart then. If they're homeless, they might even have one right there. Who knows? The other option is to stop, help them out, continue on to your meeting, help them to the best of your ability, as you know, in a reasonable time frame. Continue on to your meeting, be a little bit late, and literally give a living example to the people that you are now talking to about how they can help make a difference in other people's lives, because you just went and did it yourself.
Make sure you film it all.
Oh,
I got
If you
something
didn't
to add
film
on
it, it
top of
didn't
that.
happen.
Media
Go ahead,
is
Sam.
Go
So
for it, Sam.
I would say, Mrs. McGettit, that instead of throwing them over your shoulder, what you ought to do is you look at them square in the eye and you say, do you want to improve your life? Follow me if you do.
Ooh.
And then
Follow
you
me.
leave. And if they take action to improve their life, great. And if they don't, then they're probably homeless for a reason and you should let them die.
Yeah,
Damn.
I think it's like Zenith, right? It really makes you think, right? And you hear different perspectives from different people, right? It's really of a thinker when he brought this up.
All right, gang. I'm gonna go
So
for
does
Richard
the
Hart.
wheat.
I'm gonna go full
Separate.
Richard Hart on this. The
Fuck
correct
'em?
answer. No. Well, I mean, kind of, but no, not really. The correct answer is you grab the homeless person, you put them over your shoulder, and take them to your speech. Now, you have increased the number of people the message is going out to, aka you're multiplying your distribution, and you've now pissed off the homeless person, which means they're going to go back to their homeless people, aka more proliferation of message, and tell all those people about this weird thing that they did to you. So we've now we've combined distributing the message and outrage marketing within a specific community. You've
fucking
expanded
God.
the audience, and you use outrage marketing to expand your audience within the homeless people as well. So there you go. That's how it's done.
Would it be higher
Bro.
leverage
Yes,
to
I,
also
Somebody clip that. This happened at
I accidentally
1
added-
hour 52 minutes.
No. The other like tinfoil hat theory I have is, if you really think about the power of now, I can only exist in the in the moment, which means that when I encounter this homeless person, I can't do anything for their past or their future. Therefore, all I can really do is just experience being in the now and all of the homelessness that they have and all of the lateness that I have, because I can't do anything about it. Because other than that, if I did anything, I would not be living in the moment. I'd be living in the future, which is only captive to the moment, which means the correct answer is to embrace the homelessness and then keep living in the moment, which is me being late to my speech, which means no one gets help, I am late, and everyone is pissed off.
And then
And
you
then
get
you-
to become homeless now.
I was going to say, that's the next
Highly
logical step.
probable.
Become homeless, because now you've been
Mexico.
kicked out of seminary for missing your
Mexico
speech.
Tent City coming soon.
Yep. Man, fuck Tent. You know what? Actually, Farmer J, I'm gonna say this. Fuck Tent City. We need a raft city, bro. We need to get all the Hexicans together and tie a bunch of canoes and then float down the Mississippi, and it'll just be a big Hexican raft of
Oh, great.
canoes. That's
Water
what.
World. We need
Yeah,
Kevin
Yep, it's gonna
Costner
be
out here as
Waterworld.
well.
Like
Kevin Costner will be
All-
a Mexican now.
Oh man,
We
Let's
gotta
fucking
build
do
the
it.
barnacle. We gotta build the
We gotta-
barnacle.
build the barnacle. All right, man. Is it time for us to do the thing again, Zenith? I got my paper right here. I see that there's some new folks in town. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's time for the thing. Mrs.
It's time
Producer,
for the
if you
thing.
don't mind. Yes,
Ladies
it
and
is.
gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels. It's time for motherfucking chat shoutouts. Woohoo! I need to get some sound bites. So I'm gonna. Hey, if you guys have recommendations for a sound bite, I'm thinking of Rick Rollin. I'm thinking of the
Wait,
like da 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 that you see on like ESPN or whatever.
No,
There-
that's
I
that's the Monday Night Football theme, I think.
That's what it is. Yes, the football theme, or the like the intro to Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up," or maybe like some tub thumping or something. I need soundbite suggestions. What do you got,
Did
Mrs.
you get
McGinnis?
Really quick,
for it.
Will, what I think we should do is we should make all of these sound bites and they would be fantastic and beautiful, but we will only use them if they are made by Will, imitating whatever sound it is that he wants to steal
Oh my
to avoid
god!
copyright, and yes, they'd be amazing.
So
You guys
Will
should
has-
hear my. You guys should hear my THX sound stereo system impersonation.
So
Not really.
All of the sound effects are
We'll
just
add
going
that
to be
one in there.
all the sound effects are just going to be Will doing a cappella sound effects on his own.
Yes, exactly. You got it. Perfect. Ideal,
get behind this.
Ideal situation here. This is exactly what we need.
We're
I
gonna
can
have
get
to chip
behind
in
this.
for a big soundboard.
Yeah, we just got to get Will the stream deck.
Oh fuck! I don't know if I'm ready for this. This could be interesting, ladies and gentlemen.
This is your time, Will. This is your time.
Oh man, the peer pressure is real, guys. Hey, don't do drugs, even if people peer pressure you. And if a stranger comes by with drugs, you say thank you because drugs are very expensive. And we'll put that right
Yeah,
up
they
there
are.
in the rest of the Will advice.
I'm still waiting for people to offer me drugs. I was told all my life people were gonna come offer me drugs.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
thought he
guys.
was in prison though.
For real this time, it's time for some motherfucking chat shoutouts. So let's shout out the chat and see what's going on and say hi to the folks at home because they're saying hi to us.
Yeah, we
Zenith,
will.
what do we got?
Mrs. Producer, I think we pulled this one up, but we are going to do it again because Jenna Nelson deserves a second hello, and she says hello with a smiley face. Hello, Jenna. We hope you're having a very happy Friday and a good start to your weekend because that's what it is. It's Friday night, and we're just out here having a book club instead of like, I don't know, being in a club or a bar. This is
This
where
is
it's
the
at.
best club.
Haven't you heard our intro? That is about as club-esque as you can get.
That's true.
Free
Oh,
admission.
strip club
Free
music.
admission too, unlike the club. Free admission.
True.
And
Tell you
the
what,
We
drinks
got
are cheaper.
Chad Donnerschwantz over here saying, hello, fellow homeless people yeeters. I suppose Chad has thrown his fair share of homeless people, much like Miss Trunchable from the Matilda movie, where she hammer tosses the one girl or whatever and fucking yeets her by the pigtails. So I can see the Degen Roundtable. Maybe that'll be happening at our next meetup. Maybe you guys will catch us doing the homeless people decathlon or something like that. That would be an event. My
Tossing
God.
I probably did use a not great word for that, but I meant to lift them and throw them over your shoulder, not just like yeet them.
Yeet.
Look, sometimes
man.
yeet is the correct answer.
And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've got Moon-Pilled Raptional Optics in here saying, sounds so optimistic with the little face
I
going
think-
on.
I think that was in response to my shit post in real time of the power of now, talking about how you can only exist in the moment. Therefore, are they homeless or is this just their moment too?
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah, I think it was in response to our story of how ultimately we end up homeless now because of all of these things that connected in the now.
Very true. Very true.
How dare you call them homeless? The earth is their home. They are one
Yep.
with Mother Earth.
There we go.
There's
Excellent.
a lot of ways to interpret that. I feel like there's a way to incorporate being 6 feet under the earth as well, but
Oh, I was just gonna say tree huggers, but yeah, okay.
or that too. There, like I said, many interpretations. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. This has been the Book Club. We're going to go around and ask people where they can be found and what they have going on very soon. By the way, stick around towards the end. We have a bit of an announcement for what we're going to be covering on Sunday. It should be a very, very cool and big episode, especially for all the Hexicans and Pulsekins. But until then, I'm going to leave you with that tease, and we're going to toss it over to Sam. What you got, my man? Where can the people find you, and what do you have going on?
Hello, my dude. I am pretty much focusing a whole lot right now on bungalows for bachelors. I am trying to get as many people as I can into my community because I wanted to grow it, and I want lots of people to be able to learn the wonderful kinds of things that we can learn here at Bungalows for Bachelors. Just did a live stream this last week about insulation, and we'll do something cool next week. Haven't figured it out yet, but that's what I'm about. So if you guys want to learn about home construction and anything about that, come check it out. That's where you can learn it. I'll throw a link in the chat. It's a www.skol.com/BFB success. That's where you can come in and have a good time.
Sam, is that the place where people can learn that the pink insulation is the tastiest cotton candy?
That's correct. In fact, that's what I just spent a whole hour streaming talking about, was how delicious it is. You are exactly right.
It makes a
It
great
is-
pillow too. It's not itchy whatsoever. It makes
It
a
is
great
so
pillow at
delicious that if you rub it on your skin, you will feel things. I didn't say good or bad, but you will feel things.
work. For weeks. For weeks.
For weeks. Weeks, I tell you. Don't touch the insulation, folks. Please don't. Dear God. All right, Farmer Jay, take it away. What do you got going on, brother?
Well, just a quick thing I wanted to just mention. Don't forget time blocks. You know, I found that very important. Just make time for the things that are important in life, and you can find me lurking in various Telegram channels, particularly the Degen Roundtable channel, possibly the Citadel. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Possibly might hop on RG3's stream later on tonight after I shower. You know, might
That's
just
very
hop on and
nice.
say hello. But other than that, yeah, I'll go ahead and kick it off to who's next? Who's next? I'll kick it back to CNET so he can kick it to Nate. Is it Nate? All right.
Yep. I got this. I am the Ascending Man, Nate McGettit with the DJ Roundtable. And this is an amazing book. I highly recommend it. It pairs very well with the power of now. Putting your life together, you're able to de-stress, I would say, while getting a ton of productivity throughout your life. So yes, I would say definitely read this book or listen to it if you don't read.
Both
like
a free
most.
read on YouTube.
Yes, read it on
Or
YouTube. There you go.
listen. Both are
Other
free
than that,
on
there's a
YouTube.
lot of things coming up. I know we've kind of harped on this quite a bit about DJ Roundtable expanding quite a bit, but we're getting to that point now where all of the legwork is being done or has been done now, and you're going to start seeing the actual products coming out. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be this next coming month where you're really going to start seeing things taking off, blowing up. And if you're not a part of things, what the hell? Really? You're just going to let this pass you by. You will regret this the rest of your life. So get into our Telegram. This one down here currently does not work, but we will have it in the description. You literally just need to kind of do a little scrolling. Oh, I can't do that apparently. But you just need to do a little scrolly thing. my mouse is stuck over here. But
Been there
yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So
I got
what
a mess over here.
are you saying? Join or be the homeless person getting stepped over?
You will be the homeless person getting yeeted off the bridge if you do not join up. So I would suggest you join.
There you go. How's that for? That is a call to action if I ever heard one. Take it
And
away,
now
Mrs.
we go
Producer.
down this direction.
Please save us.
I'm not expected to save this. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's possible. I do want to say, though, if the homeless people get yeeted off the bridge, they'll be fine. The homeless people can swim. I'll go with them. I like to swim, so we'll have a nice time. And then we'll get them into DRT. It'll work. But
There you go. From the person swimming with the homeless. What do you think about the
swimming
book,
with the
though?
homeless. See, I'm very invested in helping the homeless. We're in this lake together now. We all got yeeted off the bridge. But anyways, as for where the book places for me, I definitely think this one is, I can't really say it's in my top 10 because I need to actually make a list of the top 10 and see what I have in there. But it's up there. I think it would probably make it in my
Really?
proverbial list at the very least.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I thought it was very good.
I thought this would have been like a snap top 3 for you based on the way you were talking about it earlier.
What are you talking about? Yeeting the homeless people into the lake?
No, I'm talking about this, not the weird tangents we got on.
No, I don't have a solid list. When I make lists, they become like very solid things in my mind. So I'd have to actually physically make one to really, have that and be able to drive that home. But I think, yeah, for sure, it would probably be in my top 5. I did really,
I like
really
it.
enjoy it. All the information about multitasking and how you can increase productivity by essentially not doing that. I think that's very valuable information for many people in today's world. He even mentions that multitasking has become such a concept that people like put it in their resumes and look for it when they're trying to hire new employees as well.
Yeah.
So just there's very good things to consider, in my opinion. As for where you can find me, Degen Roundtable Telegram. I will update the QR code by the next time we do an episode. So Sunday, I'll have the new one on all of our backgrounds. Apologize for that. Just had so much going on the last few days getting home. I did get Wednesdays ready, but it kind of slipped my mind after that. So, but it will be rectified.
That is all good. No worries. Besides, I think the next person to speak is the one who has a good link for the new QR code. And that is none other than our beautiful co-host, the man with the best hair.
Link Sky.
I do
Link
have
Sky.
the best hair. I have the most hair out of all of us on this channel. I have nothing but just luscious locks, and I've started my own comb factory because I go through comb so much, brushing all my luscious locks and hair. I have a quick favor to ask for all the panelists, since we're on the subject of super awesome books. If y'all wouldn't mind grabbing the most coolest cookbook ever. I do believe that everyone on this channel, Zenith, you have a cookbook, don't you? Do you have a Brothers Two of Them cookbook? Is it handy?
I do, but it's in my kitchen.
Ah, fiddlesticks. Well, that's where it belongs. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, if you want one of these fantastic cookbooks, of which there are only 50, as you can see, they are serialized very officially with a permanent marker. If you want one of these fantastic cookbooks, then what you need to do is you need to go to will.pls.f. Actually, you know what? Fuck that. You need to go to t.me/Will Stevenson, which I am now dropping in the chat, and you need to send me a little message in there saying, I want a cookbook that costs $10. I've got like, man, I don't even know. I've got like less than 10 of them. So, I'm not gonna lie,
guys. You might want to pay double for them too, because I read through it and it is actually very entertaining to read through it. Yes, it does sound like Will.
You cannot find this information anywhere else. The contents of this book are unique to this one.
There is no
second best. There is no second best.
There is no second best. Oh man, maybe. Well, I'm not going to say maybes, but I was thinking like after all 50 of them are sold out, I will say definitively we're never making any more. These 50 are the only ones that ever exist. So if you guys want a copy of this Tower Climbers cookbook, I think I've got like 7 or 8 left over. One of which is I'm holding on to for Agent J. But that one's labeled, so you can't have it. And I don't remember how many Sam has left over. But the point is, if you guys want a copy of this Tower Climbers cookbook, then you need to go to t.me/Will Stevenson, and you need to say, I want a copy of this cookbook. And from there, I will give you instructions on what's to follow. Other than that, you guys can find all of my socials at will.pls.fyi, which I will also drop in the chat below, https://will.pls.fyi. That's where all my socials are. You can find my link tree in there, which mostly shows all the work that I've done in my life, like online, whether it's building Rule Zero archives or whether it's writing a book about value systems, or whether it's just like my different social medias and other projects that I'm working on. The Degen Roundtable's in there too. Will.pls.fyi will get you linked up to all of my socials though, so you guys can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Facebook, you can hang out in the Degen Roundtable Telegram. All that stuff's linked up in there. So head on over there. Click all the stuff that you like. Make sure that you guys are smashing that like button. All right. I don't care if you comment. I don't care if you share. I don't care if you even watch the damn video. I just want my fucking likes. So everyone smash that like button, or excuse me, like that smash button. And let's go ahead and end this show. Zenith, why don't you take us out, bro? I'm getting attacked by a crane fly. So we need to end this as quick as possible. Oh, there he goes.
And maybe not as quick as possible, because I did tease the folks about what's coming up on Sunday. So, ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, we have a very special episode of the Degen Roundtable flagship show. We have had all of our investigative journalists, our forensic experts, our technical analysts, all performing on-chain data analysis for PulseChain, PulseX, Incentive Token, Hex, and eHex. We have uncovered what we believe are some very insightful things. I know I'm being a little bit of a meme lord on this one, but we actually have been doing a lot of research about what's been going on with the OA wallet. Yes, you heard that here. We are doing a bit of a deep dive on the origin address and what has been up to. People have been speculating about what Richard Hart has been up to, but we've been tracking the movements and the market effects, and we're going to be presenting it this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So tune in for a very special episode. We've been working very hard on this one, and we hope it absolutely hits home, just like home run, grand slam, 55-car pileup on the highway, smash it home. You know what I'm talking about. That is what's going on this Sunday.
Thing. Nobody, not Axis, not Sloth, not RG3. Nobody has got this information. This is brand new stuff. So this is pretty wild.
Correct. This is, I mean, I don't want to oversell it, but it's going to be big. That's what I got to say about that.
The challenge has been made, Axis, RG3, Sloth, whoever else Nate just named that I totally didn't forget just now.
Sure.
If you guys want to beat us to it, by all means, the more information that's spread out there into the ether, the better. But for the folks at home who want to catch the information probably first, I mean, I'm not saying it's the best, but it's definitively the best. Come on over to the Degen Roundtable this Sunday at 8 p.m., right where you're at right now, this channel right here, and you guys can catch us there. Fuck yeah, let's get after it.
Into my time block.
Hell yeah.
We're going to have to time block that portion of the day off.
It's in the time block, baby. And then other than that, we do have a very special book club next week because it is going to be, I mean, this is unofficially the announcement, but it is going to be the last Sci-Vive episode. We are covering chapter 10, Longevity, and we're also doing a bit of a wrap-up and synopsis. We might have special guests. I'm still working on that. Nothing confirmed yet, but we would love to have some very special people on for that episode when we wrap up Sci-Vive and this entire journey. Will, do you have any comments on the Sci-Vive?
Yeah, I was going to say, Joe Biden, if you happen to catch this stream, we would love to have you live while we're covering the very last chapter of Sci-Vive. We understand if you can't make it. He's a busy guy sometimes. If you could send us Hunter Biden, known as Satoshi Nakamoto, some of the time, that would be an acceptable alternative. But other than that, I've got no announcements other than like it's been great covering the Sci-Fi book, guys. And I've had a real fun time just going over all of these excellent colossal collection of quotable quotes with our good friends on this book club, and especially Zenith, who I know appreciates Sci-Fi so very much. And I can't wait to find the next book. Exactly, I can't wait to find the next book that makes Zenith feel such a type of way as much as this one. But that's all I got regarding Sci-Fi. Mr. Zenith, Mr. Hostman, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
I promise I'm not a Sci-Vive hater. Like, there's good information in there. It's just everything I've been fed is like Richard Hart telling me he wrote like the greatest book ever. Like, it's kind of the meme of Donald Trump like hyping up Art of the Deal, which probably was never written by himself, but a ghostwriter be like, "It's the greatest book that's ever been written. Everyone tells me it's better than the Bible. It goes Art of the Deal, New Testament, Old Testament. That's it." Like, so yeah, that Sci-Vive, it's a good read if you want to know about Richard Hart and what he thinks about the world. That is probably the closest you're going to get to a portal inside of his mind. However, outside of that, yes, we have a Sci-Vive stream next Friday. We have big PulseChain stream this Sunday. And then other than that, I think some of us are hopping over on the FN Hangout potentially. And then outside of that, though, here's my review on the book. It's a damn good one. I'm not going to call this a 0 to 1,000 hours book. I would call this a 1,000 hours plus book, because I think the people that this book really applies to the most are the people that have gotten their kind of cut their teeth, so to speak, in the world and understood what it's like to be either a manager or on the creative side being interrupted by those pesky managers, and then really understanding how to become efficient. You know how to do a thing or two, but now this is going to help you become efficient and productive and hyper focused. This is an excellent book. This is absolutely one of the top 5 for me. I would have to go through and judge the criteria about what the top one is in what niche. But as far as just like a generalized life advice, productivity, being a professional, this is up there. It really is. And it's a very easy read too. The audiobook on YouTube is like 5.5 hours at most. You can easily double speed it and get through the whole thing. And there's tons of resources out there, lots of quotes, summaries, synopses, whatever. This is a good one. Highly recommend it. This will help you be the best that you can possibly be and help streamline your life. And that part is honestly very important to me. I got a lot going on, so when I can focus on the important things and really get the most benefit, that's what I care about a lot. Other than that, thank you so much for showing up to this stream. This has been an absolute blast. I really hope you guys stuck through the weird bits about putting homeless people in the back to piss them off to spread the message, but it's important. I swear it's important. Just like the prison stuff. Prison stuff, also very important. Farmer J isn't even reacting to that. Probably has me on mute. Oh, I see that smile. I see you, brother. Anyways, thank you. People at home, thank you so much for spending time with us. We hope this has been insightful and informative, and we know that time is your most valuable asset. So until we see you guys next time, we thank you for spending time with us, and we hope you continue and always degen responsibly.